Hello students, this session will discuss Unit 3. Unit 3 deals with basic political concept like sovereignty, law, liberty, equality, rights. These all are the political concepts we are going to discuss in this session. So it is very essential on the part of the students of political science to study all these political concepts. Why we should study all these political concepts? So these all political concept enables to know the significance of the state. So by studying all these concepts, we come to know the significance or the importance of the state. And apart from that, these all concept creates the awareness relating to our rights, liberties, our responsibilities towards the state. What are the duties we owe towards the state? All will come to know by studying all these concepts. Apart from that, therefore, we study in this chapter about sovereignty, law, liberty, equality, and rights. So, here the sovereignty is the key concept which is very important element of the state. Already we come to know that sovereignty is very essential or one of the characteristic feature of the state. So without it there can be no state. Sovereignty means supreme power or independent power. Without that, without the supreme power, the state can't function, the state can't exist, state can't be considered as a state. So here it gives individual status to state. It gives its own significance, its own identification. So therefore, with the sovereign power, the state acts independently. So the sovereignty means supreme power. With that supreme power, the state acts. State takes any of the state function according to its own way without the interference of the outsiders. That means sovereignty is nothing but the supreme power of the state. State can make and unmake any rules and regulations without the interference of the outsiders, internally as well as externally. That is the power vested in the hands of the state. How the state can get that power? With the help of the sovereignty. Here, the sovereignty denotes supreme power of the state internally as well as externally. That is the first concept. So, the sovereignty is very essential. Then the second one, law. So, law is nothing but a set of rules and regulations. Why we require the law? What is the essence of the law? How the laws are come into existence? What are the sources regarding the origin of the law? So, the law is very essential to regulate the human behavior, to control our behavior, as well as to run the systematic administration. So, here the laws are nothing but set of rules and regulation. It regulates, it controls the external behavior of the people. So our activities will be controlled by the law of the land. Then without which social life is impossible. So if the laws are not there in the state, imagine if the laws are not there, then the people will act according to their own way. There is no restriction, there is no limitation. It will give the way for anarchy. It will create the disorder. Again, it will create lot of disturbance in the state organization. So it affects our social life. So the social life, better social life can be possible only with the help of the rules, regulations, restrictions, limitations. For that purpose, the state must have set of rules and regulations. Laws are very essential for the functioning as well as providing efficient administration of the state. It gives individual status to state, without which social life is impossible, as law is the vehicle of the sovereignty. So here the law is the vehicle of the sovereignty means the law itself vests the supreme power in the hands of the state to make and unmake any rules and regulations. It is formulated and enforced by the government. So the laws are formed by the legislature, enacted by the legislature and executed by the administrators, that means the executors. So this way here, with the help of the sovereign power only, the law will be executed, implemented by the legislature and enforced by the administrator, or the executors. Then the third political concept, liberty. Liberty is another concept of our study. Liberty means what here? Freedom. So it means a freedom of a person to do what he likes with regard to other freedom with some restriction. So freedom, liberty means the freedom is followed by certain limitation and restriction. While exercising the freedom, we should take into consideration others freedom. So that way here, the liberty does not mean providing the entire freedom in the hands of the people to do according to their own conscience, but here the liberty means followed by certain restrictions and the limitations. That means liberty means I am having the freedom, I should protect, I should respect the liberty of the other person also. That way here it is very essential. Without the liberty, we can't develop our own personality. Liberty in the sense that liberty in respect of freedom of speech and expression, as well as the liberty to protect our life, liberty to protect our personal life. So the liberties, freedom is very essential to accept the profession, as well as to accept any profession according to our own conscience, to settle down any part of the territorial jurisdiction. Freedom, so the freedom is very essential. Without the freedom, we can't develop our own personality. So the freedom is very essential. So that also we can come to know by studying all these political concepts. So we by these all political concept realizes the uh, privileges granted by the state. Without knowing, we can't get any privileges from the state organization. The state provides, enables, these all are the facilities are existed in the state. We can avail those facilities and we can develop our own personalities. So this way the state, with the help these all basic political concept realizes, creates the awareness relating to our duties, rights, responsibilities. Then the next political concept, equality. So the equality means that equality is nothing but treating all persons equally without making any kind of distinction. So here equality due to imperfection of social order, gross disparities and inequalities is figured in our study. So equality and the liberty are vanguard of democracy. It means that liberty and the equality are the most cardinal principles of the democracy, or we can say that the success of the democratic form of the government is depending upon the liberty and the equality. So here the concept of the equality provides each and every person to avail the opportunity. So all are entitled to get all the opportunities granted by the state without any kind of discrimination, equal treatment and absence of any special privilege. Equality means equal distribution of all resources to all the people without making any distinction. All are entitled to avail all the privileges. It denotes that absence of any special privilege in favor of any person. So individuals, all the individuals are entitled to get all the facilities granted by the state organization. Then next one, the right is another important political concept which coexists with the duties and allegiance to state. Rights are claims. What is the meaning of the right? Why the rights are very essential? Right is nothing but right is a claim casted by the people. Whatever the claim we have casted, because the state consists population or the people or the individual or the part and parcel of the state. So the state can't neglect the interest of the people. The state has to protect the interest of the people. How the state has protected the interest of the people? By granting the rights. Here the rights are nothing but the claim casted by the individual. Those claims are considered by the state by granting the rights. So we can say that rights are claims that are recognized socially and they aim at the development of the individual and also of society. So whatever we have placed the claim, those claims are considered by the state and granted in the form of the rights. What purpose those are granted by the state? For the development of our own personality as well as the development of the society. So for that purpose, the right plays a very vital role towards the development of the individual personality and acts as a one of the political concept. Therefore, state maintains rights for its interest and the interest of the people. So for that purpose, the state creates the rights, protect the rights, and ensures towards exercising all rights towards their development of the personality. So this way, these all are the political concept we are going to discuss in this unit. So in this first one, the sovereignty. So the sovereignty is the most important element of the state. Already we come to know it is very essential element of the state. So it is the supreme power of the state. Sovereignty means supreme power of the state. Without the sovereignty, there can be no state. So without the sovereignty, there can be no state. Sovereignty means supreme power of the state. First of all, the state must have the power. Without the power, the state can't do anything. Even the state can't grant the rights. Even the state can't establish its own ideology. Even the state can't function. Even the state can't form its own government. To make anything, first, to make any rules, regulation, or to grant the rights, state must have the power. That power can't be questionable by any authority. That is known as supreme power. The entire power should be vested in the hands of the state. So that is known as the sovereignty, denotes supreme power, independent power of the state. So sovereignty is one of the fundamental concept of our study. So it is an attribute of the state. That means it is the characteristic feature of the state. By virtue of sovereignty, state becomes most powerful association. Already we come to know that state is the association of association, or the highest association of all association. So here the state becomes more powerful with the help of the sovereignty, or we can say that the sovereignty vests the supreme power in the hands of the state. So that has been defined by the different political thinkers. The concept of the sovereignty has been defined by different political thinkers. In the words of the Grotius, he has defined sovereignty as a supreme political power. Relating to political power means relating to the state. So it is the sovereignty is a supreme political power vested in him. It is vested in the hands of the state. Then whose acts are not subject to any other and whose wills cannot be overridden. So this definition provides the awareness regarding the exact meaning of the sovereignty. According to him, sovereignty is nothing but supreme political power. That means it is the power relating to the state. Supreme power of the state. It is vested in him. It is vested in the hands of the state. State is a supreme power whose acts are not questionable. That means whatever the state makes, any rules, regulations, ordinance, that can't be questionable by any person, any institution, any organization existed in the state organization. Apart from whatever it has issued or implemented, that can't be ignored by any of the authority. Overridden means not overruled by any other authority or the person. So that is known as the sovereignty. Sovereignty is nothing but it is a supreme power. That power can be exercised for the protection of the state organization by issuing any order. That order can't be questionable by any person, or that order can't be overridden by any of the authority. So that means whatever the order issued by the state, that should be accepted by all the people as well as the subject as well as the institutions existed in the state organization. Then another definition laid down, that is the sovereignty is original, absolute, unlimited power over the individual subject and over all associations of the subject. So this definition provides the awareness regarding the essential characteristic feature of the sovereignty. Sovereignty is absolute. Absolute means not restriction, not followed by any limitations, restriction. Nobody is having the power to cast the restrictions upon the state, because the state is supreme. State is a sovereign power. So that way here it is original. Sovereignty is original. It has not, it has not, it is original, absolute, and it is not followed by any restriction, limitation. unlimited power. Sovereignty vests in the hands of the state, unlimited power. That power can't be questionable or restricted by any authority or the subjects or the people. That can't be questionable by any authority. Then it is a supreme will of the state. Then the sovereignty represents the will of the state. So it represents the will of the state. Then sovereignty is nothing but commanding power of the state. It is one of the commanding power of the supreme power of the state relating to any of the matter relating to the functions of the state organization. It is the right to give unconditional orders. Sometimes it is having the power, the state is having the power to issue any order conditionally as well as unconditionally, issue the orders to all individuals within the territorial jurisdiction. Sovereignty is applicable within the territorial jurisdiction. So these all are the definition provides the awareness. Sovereignty is a supreme, sovereignty is absolute, the sovereignty is unlimited. So it is in the nature of issuing the orders over the individual as well as over the subject in the territory of the state. Then how the concept of the sovereignty came into existence, how it has developed, what is the historical process behind the origin of this political concept. To that effect, origin and the development of the term sovereignty. So it is derived from the Latin word that means supernus. Supernus, which means supreme. The term sovereignty is derived from Latin word supernus, which means supreme. So it signifies the supreme power of the state. It denotes the supreme power of the state. First of all, the idea of the sovereignty was discussed by the French thinker Jean Bodin in his book On Republic, popularly known as De Republica. At the first time, he was introduced the word sovereignty in his book by name De Republica, published in 1576. He defined sovereignty as a supreme power over citizens and the subject, unrestrained by law. At the first time, he has defined the definition. Then, again, he recognized the importance of the internal sovereignty, and the Grotius developed the external sovereignty. Again, afterwards, the sovereignty, after the origin of the term sovereignty, after recognizing its importance, it evolved by incorporation of two aspects that is known as internal sovereignty and external sovereignty. In 17th century, Thomas Hobbes of England further developed this concept and propounded the legal sovereignty. He justified the authority of the king as highest in the legal sense. Later, it is understood that king was the part of governmental machinery, and as such he is subordinate to the state and exercised only delegated power. There were protests against monarchy. So after the origin of the term sovereignty, after evolved by incorporation of external and internal sovereignty, again the concept of the sovereignty was developed in the hands of the Thomas Hobbes by giving the meaning of legal sovereignty. So he justified the legal sovereignty, that the legal sovereignty authority of the king is the highest. That means the legal sovereignty is vested in the hands of the king. King was the supreme power. So, on behalf of the state, the king was exercising the power. Later, it is understood that king was part of governmental machinery. So he was acting on behalf of the state, because state is an artificial institution. So on behalf of the state, the king was acting as a representative or delegated. He is exercising on behalf of the state. So he is exercising only delegated power, delegated by the state. There were protests against the monarchy, because monarch was not the supreme, the state was the supreme. That concept came into existence. But the glorious revolution of 1688 and the French Revolution of 1789 gave a new concept to the concept of the sovereignty. A spirit of democracy made the people that they have every right in the political life of the state, because some people not accepted the kinship or the monarch form of the government, or the vesting the supreme power in the hands of the monarch, because they want to become the state is supreme, though the state has delegated the power in the hands of the king. No doubt king was not the supreme, so that itself gave the way for changing the concept of the legal sovereignty. So in English philosopher by name John Locke justified the two revolutions and criticized monarch and its unlimited power. So to that effect, the John Locke justified the monarch and its unlimited power. He rightly considered as an exponent of political sovereignty. Then Rousseau, the French philosopher, propounded the concept of the popular sovereignty. He made the people sovereign, and his sovereign was absolute, indivisible, inalienable. So this way here, the concept of the sovereignty, earlier only it has attached only the supreme power. In course of time it was incorporated the two concept, internal as well as external, but in afterwards in the hands of the political thinkers it was given the meaning of the legal sovereignty. That means legally the monarch was the supreme power. He was exercising the power on behalf of the state. In after the revolution of 1688 and the French revolution of 1789, it has changed the concept of the sovereignty by incorporation of the political sovereignty. Political sovereignty is nothing but the supreme power vested in the hands of the people at large. So this way here, the people are the sovereign, and his sovereign was the absolute and inalienable, that means non-transferable. Later thinkers, Hegel, German Bentham, all others developed this concept. So this way, the concept of the sovereignty developed by passing all these stages by incorporation of internal sovereignty, external sovereignty, legal sovereignty, political sovereignty. So after discussing its development, now we'll discuss regarding its essential characteristic features. First of all, the sovereignty is absolute. So the sovereignty of the state is absolute. That means it is unlimited. Absolute means without restriction, without limitation. State can make any rules and regulations without the control of the outsiders, internally as well as externally. It means internally and externally state can make and unmake any rules and regulations. Whatever the action the state has taken, that can't be questionable by any authority or any institution or any individual. That is known as sovereignty is absolute. That can't be questionable by any person. So therefore it implies the absence of any type of restriction. Absolute means no limitations. It implies the absence of any type of restrictions on the authority of the state. It makes the state supreme. From the legal point of view, sovereignty is absolute and unlimited. But in reality, it has internal and external limitations. So sometimes for protecting the interest of the state organization or making or controlling the people, sovereign power is internally limited by customs, traditions, religion, education, public opinion and constitution. Externally it is limited by international law, treaties and agreements. The restrictions may be ignored by the state at its will. Restrictions are casted, but it is a discretionary power of the state to accept the restriction or not to accept the restriction. But the sovereignty is absolute, means without any restriction, without any limitations. Remaining we'll discuss in the next session.